Hello, everybody. This is Purge bringing you guys the first-person replay commentary. This is an Axe game that I played a couple days ago, and I wanted to go over it because I haven't played Axe in a long time, and I felt really good about the game. So, to start things off, we will go over the Dotabuff section really quick. This is actually the second time that I've made this video. The last time, I think either my dog had pulled a cord out of my my preamp or my compressor audio piece, and it pulled it out, and therefore I had no audio recording. It was a big downer. So I'll try to get through this pretty quick, and hopefully I don't speed too fast. Axe as a hero is about being attacked. He has a chance upon attack to spin for pure damage, so it is a 1 out of 5 chance on average. That means, on average, if 5 heroes attack you per second, you will spin every second, is a general math example I could use. So you want more things attacking you to have a higher chance of attack. That means things like creeps and multiple heroes and enemy summons. To force people to attack you, you can cast your first skill, which is called Berserker's Call, which forces people within a 300 radius of you to stop what they're doing and issue an attack command on you. So that means if they're teleporting, if they have magic immunity, it doesn't matter. It forces them to attack you, and then they walk towards you and attack you as soon as they're capable of doing so. So that's how Berserker's Call works. Your second skill is called Battle Hunger. You cast it on an enemy hero or creep, and it deals damage to them, slows them a little bit, and they continue taking that damage until they get a last hit, or deny or kill something else. So Battle Hunger is very useful against heroes that are not close to creep waves, or against supports that aren't going to be very easily able to get a last hit, because then you can do a lot of damage. It also makes Axe himself run faster when he has an active Battle Hunger, and as a level 1 skill, this does a stupid amount of damage. It does like 192 damage at level 1 if it goes for the full duration of 12 seconds. Cooldown's really high though, at 20 seconds, but it does become better as you level it up. His ultimate works as if somebody is low on HP, below a kill threshold, when you use Culling Blade on them, it removes buffs that they have on them, and then it kills them, and they die instantly. So if they're below 250 HP, 325, or 400, it doesn't matter if they're magic immune, it doesn't matter what their status is, it's going to kill them if they are below that threshold. That includes Shallow Grave, that includes Oracle Ulti. But they do have to be below those HP levels for this to work. That's the only way it works. If you are successful in the Culling Blade on a hero, then the cooldown goes back to 0, and you can cast it again on another hero. If it is not used correctly, if you use it when they have too much HP, then it just does damage, and they will live, and the ability will go on cooldown for a long time. If it is used successfully on anything, whether it's a creep or a hero or whatever else, it'll give you and your allies a movement speed and attack speed bonus for 6 seconds, and it's a 30% movement speed bonus. It's pretty nice. So it's very good to help you go from chop to chop to chop in a team fight. So Axe just got some buffs. This match that I played him was right before he got these most recent buffs. The most recent buffs he got was a 5 movement speed bonus, and Battle Hunger mana cost is not as much at level 1. It's now 50 mana at the start, and it used to be 75 at all levels. So it's actually easier to spam this than it used to be. If we look at his skill build, almost always you're going to be maxing out Counter Helix. The way that Slacks likes to play this is maxing out Battle Hunger and not getting any call points, but this is not the right way to play the hero. You can get multiple Battle Hunger levels in the laning stage if you plan to trade effectively against enemy supports. It can be very good for that, because you have to zone the supports to get close to the creep wave, and it does help with that, but it's not very common to do this, to get multiple points. Most I've ever seen was probably 2 points of Battle Hunger in the laning stage. I feel like 3 is kind of crazy. Basically, you just want more spin levels, usually, because it does a lot of pure damage and helps you farm and be more effective as a killing hero. So what's so cool about this hero is that you basically have an AoE stun on a 10-second cooldown, which is very good. And because you can force people to attack you, you can buy items like Blade Mill, are very, very, very effective on your hero to forcing people to deal themselves a lot of damage. Perk-wise, these are kind of interesting to look at. I won't spend a lot of time on the percentages here, because I think the ones in-game using Dota Plus are a little bit more accurate, because we can look at the trend, the trending difference. So that's one thing that Dotabuff can't actually look at, is what rank the people are when they get the perks. So it's probably my favorite Dota Plus feature in-game. The rest of Dota Plus is mostly irrelevant for me, but I do like that talent percentage win rate stuff. But it kind of depends what you want, attack speed or strength. Strength makes sense because your raw HP is higher. Attack speed is good because you're going to be able to attack somebody more often when you use Berserker's Call and give yourself a higher chance to score a kill. At level 15, mana regen, I believe, does have a much higher win rate, just because 3 mana regen is a huge amount. That's going to make sure that you have pretty much all the mana you need for the rest of the game. 40 movement speed sometimes can be the right pick as well. At level 20, 20 health regen has a much higher win rate, I believe, than attacking procs Counter Helix. The reason this one sucks is because it doesn't mean what it says. attacking does not proc counter helix every time. It has a chance to proc counter helix. So every time you attack, you have a 20% chance to spin. And if you have already spun within the 0.3 seconds, then you don't get a chance to proc it anyways. I believe it can't. I believe the cooldown is shared. So I'm really not a big fan of this perk. I always shit talk it. I don't think it's very good, but it will increase your damage. But I'm very surprised so many people pick it. And I'm pretty sure 20 health regen has a much higher win rate in game. We'll look at that in a sec. At level 25, you can either increase the AoE of Berserker's Call, which is pretty useful because you can catch more heroes in your AoE, or you can go 120 battle hungry DPS, which is an insane amount of damage considering it lasts for 12 seconds. That's like 1,000 extra damage or more. Very good perk if you do get to 25. So that's the perks on the hero. Item-wise, Tranquil Boots is pretty much mandatory because you want to make sure you get HP regen outside of combat, and high movement speed definitely helps. Blade Mail is also very nice, but almost always your first item is going to be Blink Dagger. You want to get Blink first. That way you can do Blink calls and catch people when they're out of position. Blade Mail should almost always be your follow-up, because that way when you do calls, even if you don't spin very often, if they do a lot of damage, you're going to be able to reflect a lot of that damage back towards them, and it'll help get them into that threshold where you can finish a kill. Crimson Guard and Vanguard are sometimes purchased, especially if you're having a good laning stage, or if you're against somebody that has a lot of illusions like a Terrorblade or a Phantom Lancer. Something like that damage block is really good against. But I think in a lot of cases, you shouldn't really have the farm to be able to do this. Or at least it's better to go rush your blink a little bit faster is sometimes the case. Although if you are jungling a lot, the Vanguard can be really effective because blocking from jungle creeps is really good to have. So other items, Black King Bar, Pipe of Insight, Magic Wand, just general survivability and teamfight kind of things is what's important. And heroes you're good against are heroes that have a lot of summons that you can kill, because if they have a lot of units attacking you, you're more likely to spin. So something like Phantom Lancer, for example, he's going to drain your mana usually, but with all the illusions hitting you, that gives you a much higher chance to get your counter helix procs and just kind of clear them out or kill the enemy or damage the enemy. Against Visage, same kind of thing. If you get a Vanguard or something like that, and you're against a hero like Visage, he's going to be attacking you very rapidly with him and his bats, but you're going to spin a lot, and pure damage will cut right through himself and his familiars, so you'll be able to kill the Visage birds quite easily. Same with Brood. Morphling is a little bit susceptible to instant disables, basically, and he always does so much right-click damage that a Blade Mail works really well against him. And if you get your call off fast enough and he doesn't get Morph off, then he's certainly killable here. Anti-Mage is physically low HP, and he is weak to pure damage. That's why AM doesn't have the best win rate, and a hard lockdown like Axe with a call and a Blade Mail will be very effective. And a lot of these other heroes are just summon heroes, basically. Heroes are not good against are heroes that are personally high HP, who don't care that much about AoE pure damage, basically, or who have tons of magic damage or slows, or don't basically need to attack Axe to be effective against him, because that means when I actually use call on most of these heroes, they're not going to actually deal that much damage back to me. So the Blade Mail becomes less effective, and it's harder to get kills on them. Or they're also carries that do a lot of damage, but they get so much damage amplification themselves, like Monkey King. If he attacks enough times, he's going to start getting lifesteal, and then it doesn't really matter that he's dealing himself damage. Wraith King can respawn and gets lifesteal, so that's also not a big deal, and Phoenix can dive and use eggs and stuff like that. That's why a lot of these heroes are here. They're mostly high strength gain heroes. Strength gain is really good on Axe. His agility gain is also good, and his int gain is okay. Not great. Base movement speed's kind of crappy, but with Tranquil Boots it becomes respectable. His base armor is really bad, and his base damage is kind of crappy, but he does have a very good base regen, is one of the best things about him. So that's probably all you really need to look at. Don't start in the jungle on the hero. It's better if you offlane, because you're going to get more out of your lane and your experience. And on win rate wise, at 5k, at least according to Dotabuff, he has a pretty high win rate, about 53%, and I have about a 54% on the hero. So I'm relatively... I win a decent amount of times when I play the hero. Oops, let me just go back here and click this off, and then boop. Now we get to have the headache of closing every single Microsoft Edge tab. All right, I did it better this time. Okay, so here we go. So keep in mind that this was the patch right before the most recent one on Thursday. I played this game, I think, Wednesday night. So these are actually the beefier mangoes that actually have 1 HP regen per second, so that's why my regen is relatively high. I don't know if this number is based on these actual values or if it's based on what it was at the time. I think it's probably based on what the current values are, so my regen was slightly higher. But I'm basically dual laning against these two supports, or I'm against these two supports who are covering a Brewmaster. I actually thought it would be Faceless Void in the lane, but it wasn't for some reason. And what they're going to do is they're basically going to go steal my bounty runes. So what I want to do instead is, and this isn't maybe the best advice because you can't do this anymore, but what I wanted to do is go pull the creep wave, because if I pull the creep wave, then what's going to do is help get me experience. So if you ever saw pros doing this, their goal basically was they want to go pull. Is this 1 times? Okay. They want to go pull the creep wave away because it's going to stack it up, and then that means when it's actually stacked, it's going to be very difficult for the heroes to end up controlling the wave and pulling it to a good location. I was thinking about arcing it back towards my creep wave, but I didn't expect all 3 of their heroes to come. If the Brewmaster actually had clap there instead of his passive, then I certainly would have died in this moment. So this wasn't that bad. And I also knew that they didn't have a teleport, so I wanted to teleport all the way over here to get to my tower. That way I could be ready to grab experience when it was time. I also maybe could have gone back to Fountain to heal up there, but this is a little bit safer just because it was going to get me into experience a little bit quicker. One thing I definitely should have done was use Battle Hunger on one of the 2 supports when I was running away there, because it would have increased my personal movement speed by 12%. That would have been really useful. And I would have done the damage. It wouldn't have been super great, but the extra movement speed is pretty nice to have. So Oracle's just trying to do his best to zone me. I know that I can't get close to the creep wave right now, so I'm just going to wait for it to come forward. And I actually made a really big mistake here in 2 ways. Number one, I didn't have my camera in a good position. Let's look at my camera or see what I should have been looking at instead. I was looking like here, looking at my creeps, but instead I could have been looking here and realized that they're doing a side pull. And what I could have done is if I would have casted Battle Hunger on the creep wave here, or maybe against a hero, it would have probably re-aggroed all of these creeps to come over towards me. And because they did the side pull, this means that they're going to be able to get the experience of these neutrals dying, and they're also going to deny some of the creeps while over here. So I actually got quite a few of these denied. I didn't realize it was quite so many, but this is a really big mistake by me. I didn't quite realize just how much that was. This was about the moment where I realized, like, I'm losing a lot from this. So I don't even get a level 2 from this pull, unfortunately. There is another creep wave coming in now, so I will get the level 2, but I should have been able to get probably level 3 from what I accomplished there, and I wasn't able to. So right there, he used his Fortune's End skill to debuff himself or to dispel the Battle Hunger on him. So I basically realized that if I cast Battle Hunger on one of these guys, they're probably going to cast the Dispel on one of their heroes, which is fine for me because if they're using that skill offensively, then I'm taking 90 magic damage, and I'm pretty much out of regen already, so this isn't really a good thing. I don't really want to actually have to take too much damage here. He ended up killing the range creep because it was very, very low, but ultimately I wasn't too unhappy about this just because I was relatively able to get last hits and experience at this point. So I'm about to trickle over into a level 3, which will be nice. There's also bounty runes that were gotten. I didn't want to go get them because it's more important for me to get experience from the wave. So I'm just trying to be as safe as possible to make sure that I'm still getting experience, but also not going to be getting killed. And because there's always 3 heroes in my lane, this is ultimately not the end of the world because I just want to keep them busy and still get levels myself. So it's not really safe for me to come up and contest last hits. Now, arguably, what I'm accomplishing in this lane is not very good. If I had prevented that side pull, I would be in a much, much, much better position because I probably would have hit level 3 instantly and then had a big level advantage against these guys. But because of the side pull that was very effective, it kind of set me back in a big way. I used Battle Hunger on him here because he'd already used Fortune's End, so I knew that I could get full damage unless he goes for a last hit. Looks like he did end up denying or something like that. And because the creep wave pushes up again, this is obviously the best time for me to stay in the lane and get experience. So even though they could harass me here, I'm pretty confident that I should at least try to get last hits, or deny their creeps if appropriate, and just to accelerate my overall gold and experience gain. So he nukes me again, I use another Battle Hunger, I do another 120 damage. It really doesn't matter because he actually did have a decent amount of regen, but it's basically my goal is just to make sure that the laning stage trades at least a little bit beneficially for me. Windlace as an early purchase is very common as a offlaner that goes Tranquil Boots because it does make you more likely to not die, and once I do get the Ring of Regen, it will be picked up so that I can finish my Tranquil Boots really quick. Now, I kind of made a little mistake walking in this far here. I probably made a little mistake not spamming right clicks as much because the creeps kind of got de-aggroed, and if I would have kept spamming right clicks on the puck there, or the IO, there's a higher chance that the melee creeps would continue following me and maybe give me more chances to proc. I got him pretty low, but rather than running to the left, I probably should have just tried running straight back. Would have been a little safer than trying to chase for the kill, but I felt like I was very pressured and in a tough lane, so I kind of felt like it was worth going for that. But it's generally better that you don't all in like that. I do this a lot when I play offlane and I feel like I'm having a tough time. I kind of just like do my best to try to get a kill. Really nice rotation from the OD. It's important that I don't instantly cast Banish here because I know that he's not going to be able to catch me anyways. That he's not going to be able to run away in time. I wasn't sure if he had boots. He did actually have boots here, but with OD here as well and some of the illusions, it was going to be a little hard for him to get necessarily where he wanted to be. So I made sure that I hit him first, then I casted my disable. That way I could get the benefit of just having a little bit of damage. Almost instantly they rotated over to me, probably because of their ward. And this ended up being a really dangerous moment here where I was very likely to die. So I used Battle Hunger on the IO to give myself a movement speed boost. Thanks because of the heal from Blanket there. Much higher chance I stay alive. And now because the lane is so pushed and everything's kind of dangerous, I just went back to the jungle temporarily. I was trying to stack that, but I didn't realize I didn't think about the fact that it was nighttime and I would have to attack. I thought I could walk in 2 seconds late and try to get the stack going, but instead I'm forced to basically just jungle on nothing. So one big mistake I made here was that I kept my tranquil boots in my backpack when I was still being attacked by mud golems. And what you actually want to do is you want to put them in your backpack or put them on the ground as the opponents are beginning to stop attacking you. And because I didn't do this, now it's going to take an extra like 12 seconds for me to get regen. And I also ended up stacking this large camp, or this ancient camp, which was maybe not worthwhile, a little dangerous because it again delayed my regen by another 13 seconds. So now my regen is finally starting. And I'm going to go back and hit neutrals again because I don't necessarily, not necessarily ready to go back into the lane. Maybe I should because my opponents are roaming a bit, but felt like an okay moment. So what you want to do basically is when you don't expect to take any more damage, in 6 seconds, that's when you put them back in. So here I put them back in my inventory because I know that I'm about to finish with this camp. And then by the time it's finished, they're still on cooldown, and then they come off cooldown, and then I'm back into regen a little bit faster. So if you plan ahead really well, and kind of know how long it's going to take to kill stuff, then you can time your tranquil boots really well. And therefore get back into the lane and have your regen going by the time the lane starts. And here, because I'm still missing a couple hundred points, I don't really want to break them just yet. So what I do is I put them on the ground temporarily to instantly pick them up. That way I can still get these last hits and not break the regen. And then when things do get a little bit messy, I'm going to have mostly full health, which means at a lower chance that I die. So tranquil boots are really beneficial in this way, that I basically didn't have to go all the way back to heal as a result of the tranquils. And I also wanted to stand this creep wave here. I did see that they had all 3 heroes in the lane, so I knew that my ability to stand here and continue getting last hits was going to be a little bit tough. I maybe could have let that push under tower. Maybe that would have been safer instead of pushing, but I kind of got a little panicked and just killed the creeps. So maybe I should have let it go under tower. I'm not sure. I also asked Chris to rotate to my lane because he was doing really well this game. He was 3-0-3 at this point, and I felt like when I looked at how close my IO kill was, if I just had a little bit more oomph in my lane, then I probably could have been able to get that kill. So sometimes just, even if it's a tough lane, having a support rotate in that has some gank potential can be really helpful, even if they only contribute like a couple hundred damage points or something. This is the old one, so it's not quite as good for Axe now, because the old one would give 2 attributes and 1.5 HP regen, which is just really valuable to have. I bought it because I wanted to have more regen, basically. I was trying to chop that guy, but unfortunately wasn't able to. Was able to chop the Lina, which is a nice kill for me. 250 gold is going to push me towards my Blink Dagger, and once I get Blink Dagger, then I can kind of get online on the map. The experience is very helpful as well, of course. I kind of wished multiple times that I had a Quelling Blade. Maybe if I was more able to contest the lane, I would have felt more comfortable doing this. And by the way, if you ever want to aggro the creep wave and not have to spend mana on Berserker's Call, all you have to do is look somewhere on the map and right-click an enemy hero. Now, the negative side effects is also going to aggro the tower. So I got the creeps to attack me, but in the same moment, Chris also lowered their attack speed with Fire Spirits. And I kind of felt like I had to de-aggro because the tower was attacking me, so instead it just led to me slowly attacking creeps, which is not very good. But I also hit the tower a little bit because this felt right. I saw the IO, and then Lina did a smart stun from here. I used Berserker's Call to increase my armor by 40. And I should have wanted here, but I, for some reason, thought that I was going to live. But my armor was not nearly high enough for that. So dying there was a pretty big mistake. I probably should have just taken... Usually if you like get a kill and you stay in the lane for more than like 40 seconds in the early game, you're almost always going to be killed by a rotation. They're going to react to what you're doing and score a kill on you. So now that I'm alive, going to go back to the safe lane, or my off lane that is, because the wave is pushed up. Sometimes Axe or the spin does not do justice. For some reason that time I was expecting the spin to come early, so I attacked and then messed up another last hit. I tried to go all in here, and it actually worked out this time. I got a little lucky. There was 3 creeps and a Brewmaster hitting me and the IO, so 5 things hitting me. I spun a couple times, and I went for a chop. And it was before sometimes you have to start casting it if you know you're about to die, to think like, maybe I'll get lucky and get a spin, and then by the time that my chop goes through, they will be below 250 HP, and that's exactly what happened. So for you to know whether or not you're able to get kills, the easiest way to tell is to look at the health pips above somebody's health bar. So if you look at Void here, he's got these like light gray pips on his health bar, and each one of those means 250 health. So for Axe, it's easy. 250 health is exactly what the pip is. So if the bar is past that line, then you should know that you're going to be successful in getting a chop off. Here what we were doing was smoking to go get a kill. I wasn't that close to Blink Dagger, and I felt like if I went and stood in a lane that it was going to be kind of hard to be successful. So we're basically just getting set up for a mid fight. I thought this would be the time to walk in. Chris actually walked in too far and broke his smoke. So he felt like he had to go in, but this is now like an impossible gank. It has to be like me walking in, getting a call as everybody else initiates. And I still kind of felt like we were going to be diving here, but the whole team was running back very wildly. So at this point, it kind of just felt like maybe I can hang out and go for a kill, but we've kind of revealed too much, and now it's better to go back to the lane. So I think maybe if Chris hadn't shown there, maybe it was more doable, but the overall likelihood of us being successful there was pretty low once we were revealed to be there. So just better if I go back to the lane and try to resume finishing my Blink Dagger. So once again, I can aggro to the creep wave by right-clicking enemy hero, because that's pretty much the best way you push. And this way I spend less time visible in the creep wave, also helps. And now my creeps are also hitting the tower. And because I'm waiting for the next wave, I can go hit up the jungle camp, easily kill the small camp. And again, we're going to walk towards mid, see, hey, maybe we can get a kill on Alina this time just by showing up. There was a ward right here, and we kind of figured that out by the fact that she kind of just stopped showing up. It was clear that she knew that we were in the position. So at this point I said, something's kind of up, let's walk away. And that was right when they got to us. Luckily their stun was a little bit late, so Chris was able to get away. And I'm basically rotating back to the lane now. So if somebody kind of walks at you like this, it's almost always better to just hit them first. In this case, maybe not the best circumstances. I really wanted to get that chop off, but very difficult to do so. And now I don't really want to go in because I do not have that much HP, but I'm trying to stay in position to see if I need to help, essentially. As soon as he casted that egg, I knew that I needed to run in, because it only takes, I believe, 5 hits, and the egg will die. And it was actually 1 hit away. So I walked in to cast Call. I didn't cast Wand in time, but maybe he did need to banish. If I had just attacked that egg once, it would have been over. And the last one I kind of criticized IOUs, or the OD banishing there, but basically Chris's ultimate was just a little bit kind of crazy. It's nice Yules there by Lina to guarantee that she lives, and it's just a really bad team fight for us, basically. Did not go so well. If I would have wanded, or if I had a raindrop or something, then I probably could have lived long enough to maybe make a bigger difference. Maybe we would have gotten the double kill or something. That was a really bad Berserker's battle hunger, excuse me. Very bad. This camera positioning is awful. I should be sitting my camera here. That way I can see what everybody's doing and see where the Oracle is moving. Instead, I was still in a terrible position. I don't know why my camera was there, but that was really crappy. Even right now, I should be moving my camera down. Sometimes very difficult to get last hits. That could have been my Blink Dagger. I would say this is a slow blink. He used his nuke, so I know that Brewmaster's here because he tethered to somebody I can't see. I need to super run away. Still 3 heroes in the lane. It's not worth. As a whole, our team is not doing so great right now. Our mid OD did not have a good lane, apparently. So, because there's 3 heroes pushing up and my tower is very low, what they're going to do is they're going to dive. So I'm pinging to see if my allies will come defend. The best way to defend this is to make sure that the creep wave isn't hitting the tower. Because if the creep wave's hitting the tower, the enemy heroes can safely hit the tower. So what I want to do is pull the creep wave past. And I can't walk up to this creep wave to let them aggro to me naturally, because then I'm going to get stunned or Yules or something. So what you can do instead, if you're an offlane hero, is use one of your ranged abilities on the creep wave. And by doing so, it creates an aggro AoE on the creeps. And then they're going to walk past the tower to me, and then ultimately to fight the creeps. So when this happens, now if they want to right-click the tower, they can, but they're gambling that the tower is going to be hitting them or not. So we end up defending the tower, which is very, very, very valuable. And I've also got my Blink Dagger coming, so now I can actually initiate much easier. I've also got Berserker's Call maxed out just about, excuse me. So now with this, 3.2 seconds of disable on a 10-second cooldown. You might be wondering why I didn't get my perk, and it's because either having 8 strength or 40 attack speed probably isn't going to make a difference in my next fight, but 0.4 more seconds of disable might. So instantly upon getting that, I wanted to TP somewhere else to try to attempt to kill. If he had used his dagger right away like he should have, then Void's HP might have lowered down to 250, and then we would have been able to get a Culling Blade off. But he didn't do that in time, so instead we're forced on this very slow chase now. He's also got time dilation. I also didn't expect him to take quite that much damage, so I messed up the chance to go for the chop. And then once I did just walk with him and go for the chop, then everything was easy. I don't know why he didn't just jump again. I'm going to look at that for a second. Oh, he had Mask of Madness effect. Was that true? Oh no, he was a second away. He almost got out of there. He also rage bot back, which was pretty nice, so made the gank even more valuable. Probably lost so much gold there. He lost 500 from the buyback alone, and he lost 200. So he basically just lost himself 700 gold. And when you're between these little ganks, it's good to just go in jungle usually. Went for the chrono on the IO. So see here, his pip just went away, and he used his ultimate, but he should be below 250 HP. And if we look at him, he had 242. So his HP is actually not going to move. So technically he's getting healed here. But for me, it just doesn't matter. Because I know that I can still ulti him. I don't know if I actually checked his HP total or not in the moment. But once the pip goes away, it seems pretty obvious to me at least that they are going to be below 250. So now we can slap the tower a little bit. This is a little bit dangerous, I guess, because there's a high chance that they just rotate over. It's like one of those moments where I definitely overpush. And I probably shouldn't have ran to the right, because that's where they're likely to come from gank-wise, whereas if I just ran backwards, then everything would have been okay. So that was just kind of bad movement from me. I shouldn't have done that. But now that I have Blink Dagger, I'm basically on my way to getting my next damage item. And Face's Void certainly looks gankable for me here, because I know that I can get here. And as soon as he slows down from Tether, I know that he's close to the other hero. Unfortunately, I called them in a place where the Void couldn't also hit me, so it's just instead me and the IO. Both us getting the chop there, everybody's going to be running really fast now, and there's a high chance that I'm going to be able to catch up in movement speed. I probably could have cast that a second earlier, but I was a little bit late. That one was pretty close to the 250 threshold, but I did have a level 2 Culling Blade. And you can actually also ulti a courier, if you didn't know that on Axe, because a lot of ultimates do pierce spell immunity. And couriers always have less than 200 HP, so you can always Culling Blade a courier. The downside is that if you use Culling Blade on a courier, it gets put on cooldown. But because I just want to fight and chop 2 people, I was like, that's okay. I don't really need my ultimate for a bit. This is a big gold advantage for our whole team, so stealing a courier like that is really solid to do. So I picked up a cloak early on because they have a lot of magic damage. A lot of magic, a ton of magic, moderate amount of magic, huge amount of magic, and Void's bashes are also magic. So having a cloak is going to help me stay alive in some of these moments where I put myself out of position. And now I moved over here to purchase a blade mail component. That way I can have a higher chance of getting a kill if I do get a call off. But with that said, I should have bought this earlier and been over here with the team to possibly get a setup on whoever came to defend. Because we were trying to control the area behind the tower. And the best way to do that is if I'm here, ready to initiate. So what I'm trying to do here is make sure that I can call right before the Chronosphere ends, which I was able to do here. To make sure that Lina doesn't cast her Yules or anything. But unfortunately we took a lot of damage from both Void and the Brewmaster ulti. And ultimately we end up dying. We also didn't have Haunt or Spectre there. If we had Haunt, we probably would have won that fight for sure, because we would have had a lot of damage coming from the Radiance. But or if I had a Blade Mail or something like that, maybe I should have gone for the Chainmail instead of the Broadsword, perhaps, might have been better, because then it would have increased my personal survivability by a huge amount. And there might be some times where axes go for a hood after Blink Dagger, but almost always Blade Mail is going to be the option. If you're playing like Legion Commander, I think Blade Mail is situational. You don't always have to get it. But if you're playing Axe, you should almost always get Blade Mail, just because the amount of damage it increases towards your opponents is going to be huge, especially against physical carries, or basically any carry that does a lot of right-click damage. You're going to want to get it. Messed up my Blink there. Made this kill very hard to get. And I also wanted to Blink on top of the IO, but Blink was already on cooldown now, so that also wasn't going to be possible. can finish my Blade Mail now. So now I'm basically just looking for an initiation possibility against anybody that even does good damage. So if I click on Brewmaster here, he actually does have, he went all right click items. He went Shadow Blade, and then he built a Battle Fury afterwards, which is kind of weird. But with the Hyperstone, he does a ton of damage. That means if I do a Blink Call on him with Blade Mail, there's a high chance that he will damage himself enough to die. So I'm just kind of waiting over here now that my HP is full. And now that I see him, I'm pinging to ask allies to come. Because it always helps if you're a ganking hero like Axe to ask somebody else to come, because it might be enough damage to guarantee the kill. So this ended up basically just being me versus Brewmaster in terms of my damage versus his. So the Blade Mail helped a lot. And with the Spectre committing a Haunt and a Dagger there, that's the only reason we got the kill, is because allies rotated over. So if I hadn't actually said anything to them, we probably wouldn't have gotten that kill. I get the regen. I'm also looking for the next setup, and I saw that Void was top. So I'm TPing top here to look to see if I can find him. Just turn on my Blade Mail and look at the amount of damage he's going to deal himself. I used that a little early, I think. It was probably really close if I look at it now. But him using Mask of Madness is actually so good for me, because if I call him and I turn on Blade Mail, he's going to be attacking really fast and dealing a lot of physical and magical damage. And during this call, his armor is reduced by 8. So when I reflect that physical damage that he's throwing at me back at him, he's going to take way more than he should normally. And you can see like how fast. I honestly, was that 322? Was that how low it was? My threshold is 325. I literally can't click on him. Yeah. He went down to 323 HP. That was really close. That chop almost didn't work. But the fact that I was able to set up a gank on the Brewmaster and then instantly set up a gank on the Void and be successful is really important when you're playing like high mobility gank heroes like Axe or like Legion Commander. And Axe can do these a lot better than Legion can, just because his disable is a 10-second cooldown and it lasts for 3.2. Whereas Legion has to wait about 40 seconds in between each gank. Axe can go place to place. Here's another teleport in. Blade Mail's on. I probably could have gotten that chop if I had expected the spin, but at this point I didn't really feel the need to gamble on it. It's like right when it was ending, I got another spin off, and I unfortunately missed the kill. Ogre Magi here, looks like he did have a sentry reward in his backpack, but he hadn't prepped it, so we're not able to get the kill. But even though I didn't, I still felt pretty good about that, because I put him low enough that he's going to be forced to using Shrine or going back to heal or something. I think we saw them smoke here, so I was trying to break the smoke, but the Lina came from this direction, and the direction her smoke broke was like going to lead to me dying. So this was a pretty big mistake. There's no real... I was trying to like be cool and outplay them or whatever, but I didn't have perfect vision, so it was kind of dangerous to do it. And I was also on the low ground, so if they just came a good angle, there was a high chance they spotted me. So I was just kind of greedy and stupid. And because of this, they basically invaded our jungle now, knowing that I'm dead and that they can pressure around. They end up killing the Ogre here and getting a lot of map control around the top lane. So this is just pretty bad by me. This means Spectre has to back and stop farming as efficiently as possible for a moment. And on the bright side, we do get the bot tier 1, but this is all very bad for the cause. So here I upgraded to the Hood of Defiance, the reason being that a cloak is very good magic resistance protection against things like Lina, but if you get a hood, it's just a completely different ballgame. And it also helps outside of that too, because it just gives you 6.5 HP regen, which is a lot. That's also amplified by how much strength I have, so this is really giving me like 10 HP per second all the time. So even against physical damage people, this is really effective. If I use the barrier, there's another 325 magic spell block. I also bought the Ring of Health component of the Force Staff. This isn't the item build anymore. It's now a Ring of Regen, so keep that in mind so you guys don't get confused. The Force Staff recipe is now 950, and the Ring of Protection or Ring of Regen is the other item. So Force Staff gives you a lot less HP regen than it did before. So it's not going to be nearly as good in that way. So I TP top hoping that they would keep pushing so that I could actually get a call off, but they did end up walking away. And as a result, I'm just going to have to hit the creep wave, because if I don't do it, then nobody will. And I just want to keep this creep wave pushed out as much as possible, because if I do push out the wave, then that's going to mean that I have a better chance of finding kill opportunities. This one was really weird. Sorry, speed here. Okay. I was bashed when I had the chop opportunity, and here's kind of the moment where you have to be a little bit careful. if your abilities are on cooldown, it's generally not the best time to fight him too much. So it was smart of me, after the battle hunger had ended and the blade mail had ended, this is generally where I don't want to chase. He's got about the same HP as me. He's going to do a lot of damage to me. Yes, I could maybe fight him to the death and maybe it's going to work, but usually you're going to want to sit back and then re-engage afterwards. So he's still got battle hunger on him, but I also wanted to recast Berserker's Call because now I've got 40 more armor. I would have loved to have blade mail here because it would have guaranteed the kill. But just as the taunt ends, I'm able to get the chop off. And with Io being there, I maybe could have pursued that, but it felt a little bit safer just to sit back since they did gank me initially. Probably should have sold my Stout Shield at this point. I could have also swapped in the Mango and just eaten it. I think it would have been alright to do as well. And then here I'm just going to use Call on this because there's not a lot of heroes on the map and I want to push the wave really quick. Got literally none of those last hits. So I wanted to finish my Force Staff. So now that I'm rotating over to this fight, what I'm looking for is grouped heroes or important targets. So right here, I could see that the Lina got stunned. And because Lina was stunned and she was at about half HP, I know that that means I have a pretty good chance of getting a kill on her. So I do Call. I get the chop off. I should have chopped the Io as well, but it's okay. She died either way. Or it died either way. I don't know what it is. And here I was focusing a little bit too much on killing all three of the Brews. What I should be doing instead, and I did end up catching, I felt good about that. But what I should end up doing is focus on trying to catch Brewmaster as his ultimate ends. Would have been the better move. Missed my call here, but Void went a little bit too greedy. Basically, he used Mask of Madness, which helped him kill the Phoenix, but then he couldn't jump out afterwards. So he kind of threw a little bit there. And now we're just going to push the tower. I was getting ready to blink, but I knew there was like no realistic reason that she would go for that. That would have been really throwy. And because there is most of the heroes alive, it's probably fine to back here. In fact, my team kind of ditched really fast. I almost stayed too long, but Force Staff's now finished. Now you might be wondering, why do you get a Force Staff on Ox? You don't really need the mana. I did get the mana regen perk, by the way. And you also might think, like, you've already got Blink Dagger, why do you need Force? Well, the answer is that usually when you have a Blink, having a Force just makes you even better. For the reasons that Blink is good. If you're playing a hero that's like a hard carry, then oftentimes, yes, you don't really want to have both. But if you're playing a hero whose damage comes from simply how you use your skills, then having extra mobility is not going to be a problem. And my hero naturally just has tons of HP from all the strength gain I get, and I already bought items to increase my survivability, so having a Force just makes that better. And the HP regen is also pretty nice. It's not nearly as nice now that it gives 2 HP regen instead of like 5.5 or whatever it was before. But it makes me more mobile and more able to land disables. And the other really important thing is that when you're an initiator hero like Axe, once you go in, a lot of times after your initiation ends, like 3 seconds later, that you're going to want to escape. And having a Force Staff helps a lot for you getting away. Because because you're almost never going to cast Berserker's Call on 5 whole heroes. It's more likely you're going to catch like 3 max. And then during that 3 seconds, somebody else in the fight is going to cast a spell on you. And it could be a slow, it could be a stun, or something like that. And you walking out of the fight is almost always not going to be possible. So having a Force Staff is going to help you be in trouble, take damage, but also be able to force back to safety. And then as a result, make it a little bit easier to stay alive and then reinitiate. And that's one of the coolest things about Axe is that is, again, this cooldown on Berserker's Call is so low. Blink Dagger cooldown's now 15, so it's been going up a little bit over time, so it's not as easy. You're not as able to like reinitiate rapidly multiple times. Here I forced over to get the invis because I knew they were right here, so I thought there was a high chance they'd be able to spot me. So now I'm going to use this invis to go try to look for a kill possibility, especially because we also have a Spectre who can instantly be there no matter where on the map the fight is happening. So I'm just checking to see if anybody's coming. Wanted to see the sentry AoE. This is a really dangerous area of the map to walk because usually there's a sentry somewhere on the tower, and because he walked away in that moment, I felt like there's a chance he had a ward, so that's why I walked all the way this wide. Because if there's a ward and a sentry up there, where they're likely to be, then this way I can be safe. So I saw him running this way, ended up initiating here, broke his Lincolns, and here comes the Spectre, which guarantees that we get the Lina kill. And now, as a result of that, now we can go do other things on the map. So sometimes that's why an item like Shadowblade is really good, for exactly what you guys just saw. I can walk around and look for people, and they're not necessarily going to know that I'm there and ready to initiate on them. And if I'm not invisible when I do that, the first time I see Lina, I either have to go in instantly there, or I have to wait for a better opportunity. Now, because there's 3 heroes down here, and they're all kind of grouped near the creep wave, I felt like this is okay to go in on. So what I did was forced first, and then a cast blink. By doing this, they don't really think that I'm going to be able to initiate. And if you let's watch it from the perspective of Oracle here. Oracle's here looking at Spectre. They actually do see me on the high ground. He's hitting the building here. He's looking over. And then all of a sudden, I initiate from a much longer range. Let's look at it again from the Brewmaster's range, because maybe he was paying more attention. Brewmaster comes up, tries to nuke the creep wave. It gets glyphed. And he also wasn't expecting this, I don't think. I know they did see me. He physically saw me there, and that's why he's running away. But he didn't expect me to be able to catch up, basically. Okay. Now we can watch the gank finish. Teleport. So almost always when you're doing this initiation, you always want to force first. Because your blink is going to be more precise to where you want to go, and it's more instant. If I blink forward and then force in, they're going to have more time to see my body shifting forward and be able to react to it. So Blade Mail on, dealing as much damage as possible. I actually ended up killing him with just like Blade Mail alone and spins. So that was pretty cool. Want to recast Battle Hunger as soon as he casted Fortune's End, because that it was going to remove it because it does an AoE. And then I forgot about the IO completely. And then I was like, oh yeah. In fact, only one person on our team paid attention to it. Or at least remembered. Wanted to cast the Battle Hunger first. Tried to chop him as well, but was a little bit late. So this game I mostly was just kind of punishing people and getting kills. I don't know if I participated in that many big team fights, but it was definitely a lot of like pushing lanes and securing kills on heroes that were splitting or just farming by themselves. Push the wave, hit the jungle camp nearby, afterwards push the wave again. I'm also looking at the other heroes on the map. I had used my TP to teleport here, but I should have picked up another one at the side shop out on the map, because now I'm kind of just here for too long. So I knew this was kind of dangerous, because I was pushing like 3 waves in a row, and very often people are going to anticipate that. So I forced staff to wait to try to get out, and then I realized that they were already set up for me. So pretty big mistake by me. I tried to chop him there, but it didn't quite get him close enough. He must have had like 50 HP too much. So my chop only did damage. Luckily my team backed me up and were able to get kills anyway, so it's completely fine. Does this guy have a defusal? Oh, he does, okay. Mana Drain is actually really, really good against Faceless Void, actually, because it prevents him from using his Time Walk. I also have the health regen perk at 20. Hypothetically, I could buy back here and just go push him on my team, but it would take me a while to get there, so this is more than fine. Brewmaster going in here. Spectre kind of getting really messed up. This guy actually did so much damage. 100 attack speed here. It's kind of dangerous what Ogre is doing, but with this much health, yeah, he's going to be okay. This is where Odie kind of panicked. It's kind of like, what do I do? He popped BKB at the last moment. Okay, so in this position I have 6,000 gold. I ended up selling my Tranquils and buying a Boots of Travel. I think this is ultimately a mistake. What I could have done instead was instantly upgraded to Heart. Like, this does give me 10 more movement speed when I'm out of combat, and a lot more when I'm in combat, but ultimately it would have been better just to have my Heart finished. Also at this point, your item build can go a lot of different ways. You can buy a pipe instead of your hood, but almost always that's a mistake unless you're concerned about your team's survivability against magic damage. So if they have overwhelming AoE magic damage from like a Tinker or a Venomancer, then I will definitely buy a pipe for my team to help them out because I already have a hood. But you have to remember that the upgrading from a hood to a pipe is like doubling the cost. And it doesn't really increase your personal survivability very much. So if we take a look at the numbers really quick. The hood gives you 25% magic resistance and 6.5 HP regen, but the pipe gives you 30% magic resistance and the same regen. The only difference is that it also has 2 more regen in an AoE, and it gives you 10% more magic resistance in an aura. So you're getting about 15% more magic resistance and 2 HP more per second for double the cost, which is a lot. Almost double, but not double. And the barrier is slightly better. It's a 400 barrier for you and everybody else. That's really the best benefit in my opinion. And instead of a 325 just to yourself. So if you're playing like Spectre for sure, there's no way you upgrade from a hood to a pipe. It doesn't make sense to do so. But for me, it might be worth it if they have a lot of AoE magic. But they don't really have that much. It's more like a lot of single target burst magic, which doesn't necessarily make pipe amazing. So therefore, it's not worth upgrading. But again, if I was against one of those heroes, I might have done that. So instead, what I thought was I can go Black King Bar. That way, when I initiate, I can ensure that I'm not going to get disabled. So sometimes if they have a Yule Scepter, for example, and I blink call on somebody, if somebody on the outside uses Yules on me, that puts me in the air for 2.5 seconds, and then I don't get much of my Berserker's Call duration and don't get to reflect blade mail damage and all that stuff. Sometimes BKB is really good to have on Axe. Very often, it's very good. But for me at least, and maybe I should have done this just because it's simply better, but I just wanted to get a heart because it's going to give me so much raw HP that if I do get into a dangerous situation, I'm going to have so much health that it's not going to matter as much. It's just going to be a lot of resources for them to try to kill me. And in fact, I'm seeing a lot of hearts purchased these days just because it does give you such stupid HP on a strength hero, and because of the magic resistance that goes in tie with it. In fact, right now I have 14% magic resistance just from having strength. So that's really beneficial. It's better for strength heroes, obviously, but overall, that's kind of giving me about as much benefit as the pipe would have, anyways. All of the strength that I have. Not that it's not like the heart gave me all of that, of course, but just want to make sure this guy doesn't get away. But having this much health against something like Alina is a big advantage. Even the same against a Void. If he chronos me, his chance to kill me in the chrono is pretty much non-existent. Really wanted to attempt this kill, so I went for the Blink Force here. But I did cancel my Berserker's Call because I could see that he was going to get away. Maybe I should just let it fly, perhaps. Found this Brewmaster just now. Is this slowed? It's hard to tell because he attacks so fast. So here's the 1x. I got like a spin right at the end there. The funny part was that he actually had a dust this whole time. But we realized like 4 seconds later, so there was a low chance of it working out. He ended up stunning my my creep. I found this Void. I didn't get my Blade Mail until just now. So luckily the OD was able to finish him off. Axe plus Phoenix is actually really good. It's actually a super cool combo. Berserker's Call works really well against Invis for that reason. You can catch the person if you can guess where he is moving. And there we pretty much cleaned up the fight, and yeah. From here we basically just attacked all the buildings and the game ended. So Spectre's build ended up working out. Trying to pull them out of their fountain. I went to Berserker's Call AoE to try it because I knew we were going to win the game, so I didn't deliberate very much. The AoE did go up decently, but it's not amazing. Taking a little bit of damage here, but realistically not that much. It's unfortunately stunned. Okay, still got the chop. He kept going invisible. I was very frustrated. I also should use Berserker's Call again here. I was basically trying to chop him the whole time, but if I would just cast Berserker's Call, he would have been visible anyways. And then by attacking me, and then I would have chopped him anyway. So, and I would have given myself 40 armor under the tower, or the fountain. So that's my offlane Axe game. I had a lot of fun. I would say you could definitely still play Axe right now. He's not a super great hero, but he's okay. In fact, we can look at the trends on the hero really quick. I can show you the scoreboard really quick. I did second most damage. This was definitely an outlier game, and this was an unranked game, so I mean, I'm sure the average MMR was maybe 4K or something like that. I don't know if we can check. I really like this trends tab thing. Is really cool. So you can see like the win rate of talents at different levels. You can see the win rate of the hero at different levels. So you can see that at the win rate is kind of crappy today, actually. 47.8, but there's kind of up and down days. This is one of the negatives of trends here for Dota Plus, is that it's not as useful because the data isn't as averaged over time. So obviously it's not as accurate, but things like seeing the win rates of the perks at different levels is cool. But if we look at the 5k and above, attack speed is actually by far the bigger winner here, which is kind of interesting because, again, it basically lets you attack more while you are... I actually can't believe that this is there. But maybe if you go attack speed and this together, it can be justified. But like if I get attack speed, I'm definitely more willing to grab this just because I'm attacking faster. But I feel like this is probably gotten because people are winning, is what happens. In these like 26% of games where people get this perk, they're probably like, I'm pooping on them. It's not going to matter. Let's see if it's good, you know? But I feel like it's not very good myself. But apparently 40 attack speed has a higher win rate. This game, I think strength made sense to me because it gives me 8 damage, gives me a little bit of magic resistance. I'm against a lot of burst people, so having higher HP is going to be valuable. Now the movement speed is a higher win rate, but I thought mana, I don't remember. I feel like these change daily, so sometimes the numbers they flip around from where I expect them to be. But very curious to see most people getting movement speed now over mana regen. I'm definitely curious about that. 40 movement speed is a lot of movement speed, though. I swear this is like opposite of what it was yesterday. Because I don't remember. This might be like a new day and therefore the data is very small or something. But it is interesting to see like what percentage people get. But as I see things like these, and like the fact that this number matches this one here, it makes me trust these numbers a little bit less, for example. But 20 health regen is a stupid amount. I think when I got that at level 20, it gives me 30 HP per second, which is kind of crazy. Obviously, there's counters, things like Urn and, not the Urn, the Spirit Vessel reduces healing by 70% for its duration. Things like that are really good against health regen perks, so maybe that's part of the reason that people skip things sometimes, but 20 health is so good. And then Battle Hunger DPS has a much higher win rate, which is no surprise, in my opinion. But people are also probably grabbing it because they're thinking like, hey, I'm winning. This doesn't matter. One thing I didn't talk about is Axe Ags. I talked about it last time when I made an Axe solo mid video. Not that you should play Axe that way, but I do like Ags sometimes. I could have bought it this game as my 6th item, but I wanted to get Heart instead because the HP it gives you is like 1500, whereas an Ags is like 400. It's okay, but and the utility is good. What it does is it makes anybody that's battle hungered deals 30% less damage, and if you chop somebody with your ultimate, then it applies Battle Hunger to all heroes nearby, and I think maybe creeps as well. Not sure about the creeps. So basically, if you get a successful chop, you kind of just win the fight because then everybody just does less damage. So that part's pretty cool. But the Ags is probably not worth prioritizing. In a lot of cases, that's not going to be valuable to get the Ags. But the Battle Hunger DPS is probably still good because we're talking about a 5-second cooldown and a lot of damage output potential. So that is Axe. That's the replay commentary. Thanks for watching, guys. Luckily, this one should have audio. And I will see you guys later. Bye.